Lock on! Come on! Banana arms!
Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have a review of the SHF Figure Arts Kamen Rider Baron from Kamen Rider Gaim series. So once again, I bought this because not only, well, it was on my list, but recently they announced basically a 2.0 version of this figure, and I was feeling a little bit odd because this figure isn't as old as you think, and then once again it's more of on the modern side, which is why I was kind of confused why they would go for a 2.0. Maybe it's an anniversary or something like that, which is highly possible. But once again, which is why I decided to grab one, because ever since the 2.0 got announced, everybody is either selling theirs off or this thing has gotten a lot cheaper, which is why I wanted to try out. But once again, which is why I bought mine second-handed. Problem was, mine is missing the goddamn back piece armor, so I do apologize for that aspect. I mean, luckily in terms of like function or articulation, it's not really important, but you know, it's just, you know, it does feel a little bit bad and off that I'm missing a piece. There's also another error that my copy has, but it's not like a tremendous error, and it's not exactly an aspect that I really care about, so I'll get into that later. Anyway, so yeah, Kamen Rider Gaim series was kind of odd. It had at first, before like the whole series went on, it had a bad impression because it's like, oh, they're now using fruit and dancing kids or yada yada. But once again, despite the concept, the series gets really serious, which is why it got really popular later as well. So even the toys sold very well. So anyway, let's see what the figure has to offer. Let me get it off its stand and let's see what we got. Ooh, actually, yeah. So as usual, let's go over the components as usual. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the figure itself, and then for hand-wise, we get most of the typical hands, but we do get some unique hands as well for this figure. So the typical hands would be that we have the fully open hands right over here. So these are the ones that has like the finger separated as well. And then here we have oh my god, there's a fly. Okay, and then here we have the semi-open hands, which is the fingers are all like mushed up together, you can see here. So, well, of course, you might actually be using this in this figure as well, depending on the pose you're trying to go for. And here we have the trigger finger hands. So these will be the main weapons that you'll be using, because there's no multi-purpose hands, because most of the weapons, well, in this case, his weapon does have a trigger on the handle, which is why they do give you a trigger finger hand here. And you can see this one is more holding the weapon directly in an almost 90-degree angle. And then here we have another, this is not a set of hands, so on this hand we have a unique left hand. So this is for, my assumption is that this character actually holds his weapon in a very specific way depending on the situation, and this is what the left hand is for. And then here we have another trigger finger hand, but as you can see, you're allowed, if you use this hand, you can hold the weapon in an angle, because he uses a spear type weapon, obviously, so holding the weapon not only in a 90-degree angle, but also in a, you know, curve in a specific angle is kind of important for specific poses, which is why they added this hand as well. Other than that, here we have the equipment section. So once again, there's not much use for this one, but they do give you a closed up lock seat version. So here is the banana lock seat. So this is the main gimmick that goes onto the belt right over here. That's the opened up version. So yeah, they do give these out for some reason. And then here is the part I was talking about. So here is his main weapon. Now, believe it or not, this thing is actually called the banana spear. So, give or take. But once again, here is the spear, and you can see there's this metal black section right over here. So my guess is that you're supposed to have a shorter version of this. Basically, you have this extender here. You're supposed to have a shorter version of this so that you can have the spear version closed up. However, it's not really a big deal, because while mine may have came with two, I don't really care, because the only time that we actually see the spear closed up is when this guy transforms for the first time. So it's like closed up like this, and then he presses a button. I think it's either this one or something on the middle section, and then it extends and then cries out banana spear. So, and after that we never see that again as far as I know. So it's not really an important aspect, but yeah, it was kind of interesting to see to have two of the same parts when I should be getting only one. But yeah, and the spear is pretty long, so really convincing. Alright, so now let's get on to the review right away. So let's look at the articulation first. So once again, there are some aspects that I was kind of worried about, but once again, for some reason, it just works with this figure. Well, of course, it could be the specific type of joints they use here that just works as well. So anyway, let's see what we got. So as you can see, the rider itself, this is basically the secondary rider. So when I mean secondary, if there's a main character, so he's the first rider, and then secondary means he's like the sub-main character. Of course, this character itself got way popular than even Bandai or like everybody expected, which is why while the series was going on, there were some changes that went through as well for this character. Alright, so as you can see, he is a knight concept. So if you've heard my intro sound, that's his actually Henshin Sandbite sound as well, so which is why he has an overall knight vibe going on here as well. So the head, once again, I absolutely love the head as well. It's kind of not your typical bug eye visor going on here. Of course, Gaim is also the case as well, but still really love the knight aesthetics as well. And of course, I heard some people don't like this whole banana ear situation, but oh well. So the head can go down, up, and pretty well, and then 360 is possible for some reason, despite being a human inside. Now, I would like to mention here is that the red sections here are kind of like a metallic paint color, so which is why it's going to be a little bit easy to chip off some paint. So do be careful. I actually did chip off a few, so just be careful when you're like dealing or handling the figure as well. All right, so we've seen the head. We've seen the head as well and the neck. So here we have the front and the back. So the back is missing some sort of an armor piece right over here. So this, you can see this big giant square peg hole here. So yeah, my guess is there's supposed to be some sort of armor piece there, but it's just missing. But luckily, most of the time you're looking at the front part, and front part looks very they're fine. So I can just shake it off. But once again, if I can find a replacement, I will try to look for a replacement. Luckily, but the back part doesn't really move at all, and it does not affect articulation. So yeah, I think that just works out pretty well. So the arms, you can see the shoulder armor as well. These are attached to the main body. Now, usually this would be a bad thing, but once again, they did consider articulation, so which is why they did this. They allow you to make it go up and down, and if you look at the inside, you can see there's another joint there, which allows it to go forward and backward, and it's not a tight joint, which is why you have much freedom going on here as well. Because I think Saber, for example, I think they had like a similar version, but once again, everything was just so tight that nothing was actually moving at all. So for the arm itself, now the one that has a big section here, going 360 is not that easy. You have to like work your way, you can't really work your way around, but going forward, backwards 90 degrees, forward 90 degrees is possible. Going to the side, also possible. And 360 twist on the arm itself is possible, which is why we can still work things out as well. Hands are your typical SHF figure arts joints where the ball joint is on the arm and the hole is in the hand as well. And then bend wise, you can go more than 90 degrees. Now on the other side of the arm, because it's smaller, you can kind of work your way around, but you have to go to the side like that and then go 360. That's the only big difference here as well. And because it's able to move forward and backward, it does give you or help you out with the posing as well to make it look less awkward as well. And you may not be able to see it, but the shoulders can go forward and backward as well. And then we have the ab crunch right over here. Now I have seen some cases where people like say this part on the chest falls off. While mine is wiggly, I'm not sure what exactly structure this thing is working with, so I'm not sure, but it's not falling off. And then here we have the belt, the Sengoku driver. I actually have the DX version as well. I absolutely love this toy. So here we have the lock scene, and you can actually close. You can do the whole sword chop thing here as well. Of course, it's a little bit tight here, but still works. And then we have the belt buckle here that shows Kamen Rider Baron's faceplate as well. And yeah, nothing too special there. Make sure the belt is on the right position, and you're good to go. Now for the legs, yeah, this is well, it's not the most modern, but it's more of the typical common style joint here that has the side swivels going on here. Going to side swivel is possible. Forward 90 degrees, backwards 90 degrees is possible, although it's going on to the side because of what. And then going to the side, almost 90 degrees was not possible because of the armor is colliding with this part as well. And there's no pulley gimmick system here, so it doesn't go inside as well. But bend wise, you get the typical bend here, and then feet wise 360 twist is possible for some reason, and then going downwards, upwards with the toe bend is possible, and then a decent pivot joint is there. So yeah, other than the missing back armor piece, everything works very well. And in terms of articulation, I thought the arms would be very much hindered, but it works. Alright, so I think the only one thing left to show is the banana spear demonstration, so I'll be right back with the swapped hands and the weapon. Okay, I'm back. I think this is a very, you know, proper demonstration of the rider itself. This is like most of the time before, like when he does his stab attack or when he's like preparing himself, this is like the kind of position he gets into. Now, of course, regarding this hand, sometimes he will grasp the end tip like this, or sometimes on the other way, he will just put it on, like on top of his hand like this. So it depends on the situation. I think I've seen most. I think in the series he does like in both ways depending on his like situation. But yeah, everything works very well, and you can see the shoulder does not actually, you know, hinder much of the articulation as well compared to Saber. So yeah, I'm actually very satisfied with it, and thanks, like despite not having the back armor, most of the time I'm looking at the front part, so it doesn't really matter at this point. So yeah. So my biggest question is, I wonder how that 2.0 is going to do well. I mean, obviously it's going to have more articulation. Is it going to improve like the overall proportions? I know they're going to add the whole, you know, swapping the armor gimmick, but yeah, just kind of curious on how much better it can get from here as well. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the review. So this was the review of the SHF Kamen Rider Baron. So if you're a big fan of the character or the ride itself, I think this is worth it. But once again, if you want to get like the latest thing, do consider, do you want the latest thing or do you want everything? So obviously if you want everything, you're gonna have to buy both. But if you just want one, I think at that point you just need to just check the reviews once it comes out. Anyway, if you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. And my pre-orders and other order stuff are starting to arrive, so hopefully next week I can review something else other than SHF figure arts. Not that these are bad, but I do like reviewing you know, various types of items as well. Anyway, until then, see you guys next time.